newest engines they're purchasing do have air conditioning, but everything else we have, no air
When
conditioning.
was this engine built?
This was built in I believe this one's 78. This type of engine, this is the most common type of passenger locomotive in America, and it has been in use here since the mid-1970s.
What is it called?
It's called an F40, F-40. It's a General Motors product.
General purpose locomotive.
Well, I have modeled this train for my train.
Oh, okay.
I even have someone come in who has put the purple logo and the T logo on the train, so it's an exact replica.
Wow.
And mine doesn't have air conditioning in it either. I didn't know this bridge actually picked up.
Oh, sure.
Actually, there's an interesting story about that particular span right there. North Station burned all of the approach tracks leading into the station were on wood pilings. Remember when that occurred?
I do.
During the time there was a temporary station over here. Now these drawbridges, you see that giant concrete weight on there? That's a counterbalance. The weight of that counterbalances the rest of the bridge, so that when the bridge comes up, each side weighs pretty much the same. Now, something can change that drastically, and that's if you take part of the bridge off. During the time the temporary station was over here, and North Station was undergoing major renovations, they removed the track and the ties from one side of the bridge while it was down.
The dynamic.
There were 4 men on the bridge, and suddenly the bridge just went up to an 87-degree angle with workmen on it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it took them, I believe, 3 months to get the bridge down. It actually rotated off the end of its tracks.
Just by that.
At the same time yes, and at the same time that occurred, we had a bridge, a large load of steel tied up on the North Station side of the river there. They removed half the load of steel from one side of the barge, and what do you think happened?
Sounds like Murphy's Law.
It was incredible.
Fully operational, wasn't it? Now, do you have a certain speed you have to travel at this point?
Yes, from North Station until we get the other side of Prison Point Bridge or the McGrath Highway here, we have to go 10.
And why is that?
That's actually an interesting question, because in a day when the trains daily operated 187 miles an hour on the French TGV trains, we're going 10 here. We're going 10 27 years after man walked on the moon. There is no logical reason. We do it because it's been done for a long time. These tracks, we could easily upgrade this to 30, except for crossing over the switches from one track to another are 10-mile-an-hour switches because of the sharp.
Consider it done. As soon as I go back to the office, I'll put the goddamn order up.
This is it.
Because for the outbound, there's no reason why we can't go faster.
Exactly. That's brand new track. New ties, new ballast,
No one will
new
ever
rail.
know that the reason the trains speed up beginning next week is this little ride we had today.
That's right.
I like it.
Neil,
What do you say?
Neil, what happens is, John and I've been here a year now. We are so bogged down in the goddamn paperwork that we don't get to check. I met Alan on the first day I came here. I said, Alan, I got to ride the railroad with you to find out what's going on.
Right.
And what happens is, he was so tied up that...
So is this the first time you've been out?
No,
You've been out many times. You say this was the F40?
Right, the F40. It's a 3,000 horsepower, actually 2,000 horsepower engine with a turbocharger adds another 1,000 horsepower. Makes it 3,000 horsepower.
3,000 horsepower.
Weighs 130 tons, has a top speed of 105.
Now, are you sure the reason, Bine, that we... let me take that over here. I'll put it right here. Are you sure the reason doesn't have to do with some old public utility commission rule?
I can...
In Manchester, we have those 10-mile-an-hour utilities. This is brand new.
Right.
Beautiful. Wow.
Neil, to give you an explanation, Renee, you might appreciate this story. You may not be aware of it. At Washington Street in Gloucester, which is the main crossing leading into downtown Gloucester, Route 128, we approach that crossing, we have to stop, both outbound and inbound. We stop at Washington Crossing, wait for the gates to come down. Then we proceed over the crossing at 5 miles an hour. And do you know why we do that?
Why?
Because back in 1970, 71, we have workmen working here, we have to blow the whistle. And we have a 20-mile-an-hour speed restriction over this diamond crossing. This track we're crossing over here. By the way, you see the train wreck here.
Yeah, what was that?
I'll explain that in a minute. This crossing right here, Neil, goes down.
Wow.
This track goes down underneath Mystic Wharf. There's a container loading currently down there, although currently it's not used. That train wreck right there was caused by a Conrail engineer with a 38-car freight train going over to Boston Produce Market. It was 10 miles an hour from the switch coming out onto the main line. New engineer, his first day on the job with pay. He was going 10 miles an hour when the engine came through the switch. And he just did what I just did. Opened the throttle wide open. But 38 cars is a third of a mile long. When the rear cars came through the switch, they were going over 20 miles an hour. A fish manly blocked 4 cars off the track.
When was that? When was that?
A month ago.
I didn't even hear much about that.
There was no mention of it in the Boston news media. I mean, we have pictures of head-on collisions in California with between 2 trains. That's a good question, but that also tells you something about our news media. A month later, the cars are still there, and there was no mention of it.
Unbelievable.
Hey, but okay.
That's embarrassing.
Very good. Still in Florida, yep.
I'm a driver. I've talked for a long time.
Yep. No,
I'd say that's excellent public relation. These are some of our
my
old
dad is
engines.
77. Neil, this is the Mystic River, our Mystic River Bridge here. Continue that story, Washington Street Crossing in 1970-71. We had an engineer here named Tom Burnett. Remember the British actress Twiggy?
I do.
Skinny as a rail. Tom Burnett's nickname was Twiggy. Tom Burnett weighed about 250 pounds and was 5 feet tall. One of the foulest, rudest, ignorant men I have ever met. He was an engineer here. He owned the job that finished up with the last train to Rockport at night, which went over Washington Street at 1:05 a.m. in the morning. Excuse me just a minute. Now you heard what I just did. How would you like me to do that by your 20 feet from your bedroom window at 1:05 a.m.? Washington Street was a whistle crossing. Tom Burnett would lean on that whistle at 1:05 in the morning. The neighbors constantly complained to the railroad. Tom Burnett was brought in for hearing after hearing, and he told them all to go blankety blank. So the city of Gloucester said, we'll fix the problem. They went to the state DPU, that they made a stop crossing because of that engineer. We no longer blow the whistle there. There are now gates there. There only used to be flashers. And 25 years later, long after the problem is gone and we've made provision for it, we still stop the train. We stop this 450-ton train, waiting for the gates to come down because of one man.
There's no station there.
I have pursued this to the state DPU, and the state DPU cannot even find records of that at their records center. But we still go 5 miles an hour, and we stop the train, wait for those gates. But I keep reminding you, for 10 years now, trains have been going 187 miles an hour across the French countryside.
Right. Fantastic.
We're now going 35 miles an hour here because this crossing, 2nd Street in East Everett, 1966, the midnight train out of Boston came around this curve at 70 miles an hour. An oil tank truck had stalled on that crossing at half an hour before the train arrived. The truck driver never notified the police, never attempted to flag down the train. Around that curve at 70 comes a passenger train. All these gates were hand crank gates, and he didn't even notify a crossing tender. That first crossing, 2nd Street, did have automatic gates. The rest of these were the old-fashioned hand crank gates. The train hit the crossing of the truck. Look here from the left. See the road crossing right there?
Yes.
You do not have the view of somebody coming at you.
Absolutely.
Right. See that?
Absolutely.
That's why, when you say that why we blow the whistle, for that reason, nobody is kidnapped, right?
Now, we'll add something to this. Pretend there's a train coming the other way. The rear car of the train just clears this crossing. people assume
other
make an
train.
ass out of you and me that only one train is going by. I come across and I hit someone. I'm doing everything I can, and the gates are still down, but they still try to go through. Bicycles, pedestrians, and sometimes even an automobile.
But the question is, what it does to people all along the route 20 times a day
Right.
for the whistle, that has to be taken into account also.
Yeah.
Because the other people are breaking the law, doing something wrong, we're doing the right thing, I'm a police doing the right thing, but because someone is absolutely ridiculous, we have to disturb all of the situation. It doesn't seem exactly fair.
Right. Oh, are you by any
No, Alan.
chance in regard to the business of blowing whistles?